Hi, this will be the sign of Scorpio, and this will be for the month of August 2026. The deck that I'm using is the Rider-Waite deck by Pamela Coleman Smith and Arthur Waite. And what I've done, as usual, is I pulled 4 rows of cards, 3 cards in each row, and I also pulled an overall energy card that is going to affect the month of August. So listen up, it's going to be a long listen to. And let's get started. So this will be for the sign of Scorpio. Oh, and by the way, the deck that I'm using is the Rider-Waite deck by Pamela Coleman Smith and Arthur Waite. Didn't want to leave that out. So we're going to start with your energy card. And your energy card talks about you having the needed strength that you need in the month of August, okay? So there's something that's going to take place in August where you're going to need that inner strength that most Scorpios have. Now, it does talk about you having to make a big push to get something done. Are you planning on moving, changing jobs, changing location? It's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of strength on your part. And of course, Scorpio, you have that energy and you have that strength. So it does say that, one day you're questioning your commitment to this goal. Do you want this in your life? Do you want to continue with this? Do you want to stay where you are? Do you want a new job, a new environment, a new relationship, a new mode of health? Okay, there is something that you are questioning. And then the next minute you're feeling like, okay, I can do this. I've got the energy for this. So it's kind of like a roller coaster ride for you mentally, okay? Now it says that you need to focus on your stamina. Are you willing to put the effort in that it's going to take to enact some circumstance in your life at this point in time? Now, that could be a diet. It could be recovering from an illness. Now, I just talk about you needing to use restraint in a situation because you might have to deal with someone who really needs a softer approach, okay? Not an abrupt approach, but a very soft, very sensitive approach, okay? But you still have to make that show of strength and personal power. So it does talk about possibly, maybe you're relaxing your self-control a little bit in order to get along with people. But it does talk about you getting involved in very different types of peer groups. So as you're moving into the month of August, know that you have the strength that it takes to get involved with these different peer groups, to show your boundaries, to solidify your boundaries, but to still move forward in a very positive, loving, and sensitive way. So that's not a bad card. So we're going to move into the first couple of days of that first week, and you have the World card, and the World card is straight up. Now, Scorpio, that talks about success and happiness and completion and connection with the wider world, okay? You're going into this rewarding career. You're in control of your life. You're expressing that self-power and that creativity. And you're on this journey of self-discovery, self-development, okay? You're striving to develop an awareness of the outside world. It's almost like you've been secluded, and then all of a sudden now you're reaching outward. You're reaching out to form connections with other peoples, other peer groups, other select groups in your life that possibly you kind of shied away from. And now you're saying, hey, I'm here. I'm here. All in all my glory, okay? Now, it does talk about you striving to develop that awareness of the outside world. And so you might be reaching out to different groups, different modalities, different ideologies in order to kind of touch base with them, right? To share your ideas, to share your creativity in some way. So it does talk about goals and projects, and maybe even getting involved in a course of study where you're learning about other cultures, other ideologies, maybe even other religious factions, okay? Now, it does say that you will be moving. Yeah, you're moving. And it says you're moving to a home in the country where you're going to be able to ground, okay? So that's a positive thing, and I would love to move to the country. That's like one of my big goals in life. Okay, so as you're moving into the middle couple of days of that first week, you got the Five of Swords, and the Five of Swords is straight up. And that talks about disruptive events, okay? Even some stimulating type of behavior where, you're kind of looking for that excitement and that adventure in your life, okay? But it does talk about a contest of ideas with other people. So it may even denote an abrupt break with people that you knew in the past because you're disagreeing with them in some aspect in your life. Now, it does say that you are being assertive and you're willing to take on the challenges and go after new opportunities, new jobs, new environments, new friendships, new relationships, okay? And there is that active, energetic type of competition that is taking place in your life with other people. Now, it says that you're going to see someone's true character is going to be shown in the middle couple of days of that first week. And, you might even be reaching out to people who are in need of some type of supportive assistance. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're reaching out to gain clarity, to gain some type of supportive energy from other people in your life. Friends, mentors, employers, okay? But it does say that you are going to test your limits. You're going to test your limits and try new things. You are in that process of managing conflict and communication and new ideologies, new belief patterns, okay? You're in that period of questioning your life, your beliefs, your feelings. Now, there may be a period of time that you have been going through where you feel excluded. You felt excluded from family dynamics or friendship groups, or even getting involved in volunteer groups. And maybe you felt weird. You felt like you didn't belong, right? So it does say that you need to join with other people mentally. It's almost like you need to form a connection with other people for your mental health, your mental benefit, okay? So we're going to move into the last couple of days of that first week. Now, it's kind of odd because you've got this inner power, this inner strength that's showing itself in that first week. And because of that power, you're pulling away from people where you disagree with their ideologies, and you might even be in conflict with other people's belief systems, okay? Or ideologies, or even maybe you're not getting along with someone due to their ego. Maybe they have this big ego and you're saying, you know what, I don't need this. I don't need this nonsense in my life, and I'm going to pull away and go to a group of people where I feel supportive, where I feel part of that dynamic, okay? Because you got a lot of issues that are taking place in that first week. And it does talk about money problems, money loss, okay? So there's going to be material problems. Now, if you're walking away from a certain group or a certain job dynamic or a certain friendship, maybe even a relationship where you felt financially supported, and now you're saying, you know what, I don't care about money, I'm walking away. I'm walking away. I would rather be happy than wealthy, okay? But it does say that in that first week, you're going to have difficulty obtaining resources, money, maybe even problems with transportation. Food costs are rising, even phone communication costs are rising, okay? So it does talk about possibly in the first week of August, maybe a loss of employment. You're walking away from a certain dynamic in your life where you felt financially at least stable, okay? You're walking away from that. So now it talks about you possibly not having enough money to fund the things that you're wanting to do in your life. And you might even be going through a period of confusion. Staying focused is going to be a bit of a problem, especially with financial issues on your mind, okay? So these financial problems you might be dealing with, you might feel overwhelmed by them, but if you take it one step at a time, you will suffice. And it does say, if you need help, ask for it, because that help will definitely be provided. So be aware of that. So that's the first week in a nutshell. Okay, that's the first week in a nutshell. And things are tight everywhere, Scorpio, but you have the resources and you know how to utilize them. So we're going to move into the last couple of days. And even though you were having financial difficulties, in the final couple of days of that first week, the money's going to be there when you need it. So you got the Seven of Pentacles. And the Seven of Pentacles is straight up. And that talks about visualizing what you need to do, how you need to move forward financially, okay? Taking the right steps, step by step. You're being very self-reliant, and you're being an individual. You're going against mainstream, and you're standing up for your personal values, reflective of the financial problems that you're having. You are saying, you know what, I don't have the money for anything fancy, but I have enough money to suffice, and that's all I need. And I'm still walking the other direction. Yeah, so you're walking away from some dynamic in your life where you felt unsupported, where you felt perhaps even isolated in some way, okay? Now, it does talk about an unexpected turn of events. You might decide to do something completely different. Uh-huh. You're going to do something completely different from what you were planning. You're going to take your goals in a new direction. And it might even be a more sustainable and realistic direction for you, okay? So as you're moving out of that first week, you were dealing with all these financial problems and you were dealing with, confusion and maybe a loss of a job. And then all of a sudden at the end of that week, you say, you know what? I've got an idea and I'm going to run with this idea and it's going to give me life in my power. I'm going to be in control here. I'm going to be the one that says in what direction I go, and I'm going to do very well. Thank you very much. So we're going to move into the second week. All your money problems aside, you're moving into that second week. And the first card that you have is the Empress, and the Empress is straight up. So that talks about a nurturer, someone who may be a mother, a sister, an aunt, a best friend, a mentor, a boss, okay? But it is a female energy. And it's someone who has wealth. They have wealth. And they're willing to share that wealth with you. They may be asking to help you if you need help financially, okay? But it is someone who's going to provide you with a gift, a favor, some type of productivity, even health. They're going to help you in a health modality. So it does talk about a peaceful home life in that second week. You've moved away from those chaotic energy and now you're nurturing. And it does say that you moved to the country. Yeah. So that's not a bad thing, right? And it talks about peace. It talks about family life. It talks about protection from chaotic energies, okay? So someone's going to use their resources to help and possibly to heal you in some way, mentally, physically. Maybe you're going through a period of illness. I mean, you were dealing with a lot of stress. And this person's going to say, you know what? I'm here for you. It could simply be that you're getting a caretaker, or maybe Scorpio, you're becoming a caretaker for someone and you're helping them out in some way physically, okay? But it does talk about possibly aiding and comforting other people. Is this you, or is this a modality that's taking place in your life where someone is providing you with that supportive aid? Now, it does say that there will be an authority figure that is going to help you. Could be a mother, an aunt, a sister, a grandmother, a boss, a mentor, a best friend. Yeah, but it is a female energy. Now, it does say that you are going to assume a leadership role when it comes to this individual. So is this person, this female energy, are they offering you a job? Are you going to become a nurturer for someone that you care about, okay? Whether it be a grandmother, a mother, an aunt, a sister, a mentor, okay? Even a child. But you are going to be working through some of the issues that you're dealing with in that second week, whether it's a health modality or whether it's, it might even be a mental aspect where you're having to help someone deal with the stress in their life. Or maybe this is a healing faction for you. So we are now going to... So the next card that you have is this Justice card, and the Justice card is reversed. Now, when the Justice card is reversed, it talks about an imbalance. It talks about having to make a balanced decision, but, having to use your logic and your order and look at the facts objectively, okay? Finding some type of clarity in order to make a decision. Now, you might be frustrated at this point in time because you're trying to achieve this working balance in your life and you're feeling a little out of kilter, okay? Now, maybe there is someone in your life that you counted on, you depended on, and maybe their actions have basically, ruined their integrity. It might even be you. Maybe something you have done, Scorpio, has ruined your integrity in the eyes of someone that you care about. Now, it does talk about thievery. So maybe someone stole from you. Maybe someone owed you money. Maybe you quit a job because it said at the first of the month that you were deciding that in August, the 1st of August, that you were going to leave a job. Well, maybe they owed you money. And maybe they said, oh yeah, we'll send your paycheck to you, your last month's pay, your severance package, whatever it is. And maybe they didn't. So, You only need to steal once to be called a thief, okay? To lie once to be called a liar. And so maybe their integrity has been ruined in your eyes, or maybe your integrity has been ruined in the eyes of your employer, okay? So, I mean, maybe you said, I'm going to work an additional 2 weeks, I'm going to give you 2 weeks notice. And maybe you weren't able to, you had to change your mind at the last minute. And it did say that your life was going in a different direction. And this very well might be where that conflict is coming in, or you're having conflict with possibly an ex-employer. So it does talk about you pulling away from an old way of doing things, okay? And there is going to be some type of inequality in your life, and that might trouble a relationship, yeah. It could talk about job sharing, retraining, some type of complications with legalities when it comes to relocation, when it comes to employment, okay? Those type of things. But it does stand for karma. And do not tolerate any type of injustice when it comes to, waiting for a paycheck, that last paycheck, okay? But it also talks about do not get involved in any type of illegal activities or someone trying to talk you into it, okay? Someone trying to talk you into lying on paperwork. Scorpio, don't do it. It will cause so many difficulties for you, and you're going to look just as bad as they do. So, you know what? Shy away from that. Now, it also talks about inequality troubling a relationship. Inequality in what way? Financially, okay? Maybe even educationally. Maybe there is some type of inequality there where someone else has got the wherewithal. Someone else has the knowledge when it comes into possibly investing your time, your energy, even your money, okay? So be aware of that. You might be taken advantage of in some way financially, and it's due to the fact that you weren't aware that those type of things were taking place in your life. You weren't aware that maybe someone was skimming off the top of your paycheck, or they were charging you some type of fees that were going right into their pocket and not really going to where they were allotted to, okay? So be aware of that, because those type of energies are taking place. I mean, we are in the second week. We are in the middle of that second week, okay? So I'm kind of seeing there's a lot of energy going on here that is, it's confusing. It's confusing. You've made a decision to move forward in some modality in your life, and then all of a sudden you find out that someone might have been lying to you, or they might have been skimming off your paycheck. So be aware of that. So we just left the second week, okay? So the Justice card reversed was the last 2 days of that second week. And so the next card, as I said, is the Ace of Wands, and it's reversed. And that is the first couple of days of the third week of August 2026. So that card, it literally stands for altering your lifestyle, okay? You're changing things. And you're having less energy. You're exhausted. Like you're just kind of like over the top with exhaustion. So you're not able to get enthusiastic about something that you're getting involved in. And you're looking for clarity, but you're not even sure how to move forward with a project that you want to get involved in. Maybe you want to move and you're not even sure how to pack up the first box, okay? Maybe you want to go on I don't know where you're from, but in Canada, it's unemployment. Maybe you want to quit your job and take a bit of a reprieve, a sabbatical, okay? And you want to go on unemployment until you find a new job. So you're not really sure how to do that. You don't know how to move forward with a project that you want to get involved in. Perhaps getting involved in a new job, maybe even moving to a new area. So you're just having to look at things step by step because you're going to get overwhelmed, Scorpio. Yeah. And recovery is going to be slow. It's going to be pretty slow because things are dragging on and on and on. And if you're dealing with a court issue, think about it. The court system, I don't know about where you are, but in Canada, the court system, it's wild. So recovery is going to be slow, okay? Now, you're feeling frustrated, but you're even going through this type of sporadic, it's like a very kind of off and on type of energy, okay? You're dealing with new people and projects and even new technology. There's a new adventure that's coming in. So all these things are magnifying. They are magnifying in the first couple of days of that third week, where you're excited, changes are coming, but you're confused. Where do I start? What do I do? I mean, you're excited about, maybe you met someone, maybe a new romance, or you're feeling attracted to someone, but you're not telling them because you got too much going on, right? So it does talk about outside attraction or distractions. You're being distracted from the things that you would like or you would vie to get involved in. Maybe a relationship, maybe even a new course of study, maybe a new semblance going on in your life, a new activity, joining a sports team, whatever it is. Okay, you want to get involved in these things, but there's so many other things going on that you don't have the energy to do it. But here's where it gets positive. Okay, Scorpio, so that Ace of Wands reversed, it does talk about you not having the energy to deal with all this rhetoric, okay? And you want to get involved in things. You want to even get involved perhaps in a new relationship, a new friendship. And you know what? You don't have the time. You've got so much other things going on that you don't have the time to focus on it. So it does talk about frustration, and those energies don't have an outlet at this point in time, but you're going to move forward in a more positive way further into the week, okay? So it does talk about emotional turmoil. It talks even about an uneven expression of passion for a new project or even a relationship that you're involved in because you're exhausted. You are simply exhausted. So we are moving into the middle 2 days of that third week. And the middle 2 days of that third week, you have the Eight of Swords, and it is reversed. So that talks about choices once again, okay? You're attached to things that are tying you down, and you feel like you can't be yourself or even be independent because you're dealing with so much. So it does talk about victimization. It even talks about this possible learned helplessness where you're dealing with so much at one time that you're kind of like throwing your hands up and wanting to sit in the corner and cry. Don't do it. Don't do it, okay? Now, it does talk about legal complications are going to stop you from doing what it is that you want to do. There are different laws in place now. Things have changed so in so many different areas, financially and like economically for everyone. There has been a downturn, and so there's something that's taking place. I mean, maybe you were looking for a place that you could rent that was subsidized, and maybe you're not able to, or maybe you have to pay more than you thought that you would have to pay for rent, those type of things, okay? But it does talk about waiting on paperwork. You're waiting on paperwork in order to move forward, maybe even to move into that home that you've been vying to move into. You're waiting for the deed. You're waiting for signature on the paperwork. You're waiting for acceptance of, maybe even acceptance of a loan that you've applied for in order to purchase a home. So something like that, right? Now, just talk about you possibly getting a little bit of bad news. Maybe you're not eligible for some type of help that you've been looking for. Maybe, I mean, simply, maybe you're trying to get unemployment. Maybe you don't have enough hours, okay? That type of stuff. It's not this over-the-top devastating news, but it is something that is going to limit your forward movement. So be aware of that. And at this point in time, you might even have to live with some type of limitation. And that's going to create a little bit of depression, but be strong, and have faith, because the next turn is going to bring in more positive things. So in that third week, you're going to be going through a period of stress and financial hardship, and even like disconnection from the people that you thought were your support system, whether that be, governmental or whether it be familial, okay? Now, if someone else is getting into some type of legalities or arguments, even personal arguments in a relationship, okay, don't get involved. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. Don't put in your 50 cents, because I'm telling you, usually it's like when a couple is arguing, if you stand up for one or the other of the couple, the female or the male or whatever it may be, okay, usually you're the one that ends up with pie in the face. You know what I'm saying? Everything will turn around, they'll get along great, and all of a sudden you're the one wearing the dunce cap, okay? So let's move, because we're going to move into the last 2 days. And The energies are changing, okay? So in the last 2 days, the card that you have is the Eight of Pentacles, and it's straight up. So things are kind of going topsy-turvy in the first 2 days, and then all of a sudden, the end of that third week, things are starting to turn, okay? So maybe you wanted to apply for a course. Maybe you wanted to apply for a loan. Well, know that in that last couple of days of that third week, you might get the positive affirmation that you've been looking for. So it does talk about possibly being on the job training, maybe even taking an apprenticeship program. It does talk about being involved in detailed work and career training. Are you taking second career education maybe, okay? So it does talk about employment. It talks about the professional attitude, Scorpio, that you bring to the plate, okay? It's going to benefit you more than you are quite aware of. Now that professional attitude just might move you into management. And you move into management, and you're going to double your wealth through possibly marriage or a partnership, romantically or even through work. So it does talk about involvement in an organized program of possibly diet or exercise, maybe even joining a gym or a health maintenance activity, volunteer work, a sporting event, okay? Now it does say that you will be taking care of something special. That could be a pet. That could be, grandma gives you her antiques and she's in the hospital for an operation and she wants you to take care of it, okay? Those type of things. But it does say that you are going to inherit or be gifted with property, and it could be land. It could be a home. It could be a car. It could be a gamut of things, okay? But you are going to double your wealth. And you know what? There's someone that you're around, and it could even be you, Scorpio. I mean, maybe you're set in your ways. So, you might need to be a little bit more open-minded as you're moving out of that third week, okay? So finances are coming forward for you. You're going to inherit something. Someone's going to give you a gift or financial support in some way. So we are now in the fourth week. And in the fourth week, the first couple of days, holy jumpins, you're kind of going from good to bad to good to like ridiculously good, right? But then in that last week, you've got the Tower card, and the Tower card is straight up. And that talks about being careful, being watchful. Potential accidents, be careful of electrical shock, be careful of something falling from a height, you falling, you tripping, okay? But it does talk about you changing your way of seeing things. And there is going to be dramatic events that take place. Might even be a breakthrough of ideas and building tensions in a relationship. There is going to be some type of disruption to your life. You might be cut loose from a situation. A job, an endeavor, a course of study. You might be told that, you know what, you don't need this. You're educated enough. You don't need this extra course. Yeah, so it's not a bad thing. It can be a good thing. It can be bad. However, for you, Scorpio, as you're moving into that last week, it doesn't look like it's negative. It's an unexpected change, but it's going to bring about a transformation. And it might bring about a positive transformation in your life, okay? Now, lately you've been having some dreams. Maybe you've been having disturbed sleep and going through periods of, depression and arguing with people. And so it does talk about political unrest, okay? So there might be an overthrow of a government. There might be some type of oppression where you are, some type of natural cause, maybe an earthquake, maybe, flooding or something that is going to change the way you deal with something or the venue that you're involved in, okay? It can talk about social issues. It can talk about human causes, riots, protests, civil unrest, okay? And there is a faction here where people are going to get involved in the chaotic energy, and it might be people that you care about, family members, friends, okay, mentors, people from work. It could even talk about a loss of a friendship, because maybe you're siding with someone, a faction that your friend or your family members disagree with, okay? So it does talk about illness, it talks about accidents, it talks about drastic changes, disappointments that are coming through. So once again, you're dealing with chaotic energies in the first part of that very last week of August. So it's like your life has been a bloody roller coaster in August. Really. Okay, so in the middle 2 days of that last week, you have the King of Pentacles, and the King of Pentacles is reversed. So that might be someone in a food production business. That could be someone in a mom and pop type of industry, okay? Could also be a banker. Business, maybe a business that you worked for has gone under. They've lost clientele. They've had the bank foreclose on them, okay? But it talks about some type of injustice that is taking place with someone you know. I mean, maybe you have a business, and maybe this is the banker saying, you know what, we need our funds, and we need our funds upright. We need them now, right? And maybe you were kind of putting off paying that bill because you didn't have the finances. But it could even be, I mean, maybe you have a business of sorts, okay? And maybe you are losing finances through your business. Well, it does talk about injustice and discrimination. Now, it talks about someone in your life, an earth sign individual. So that would be Capricorn, Taurus, or Virgo. And it's someone who's pretty materialistic, okay? And they base their wealth on what they own. Yeah. You know, and this might even be a parental figure of yours, okay? Or someone who was benefiting you in some way. So it could be a family member. It could be someone who was supportive of you in a financial manner. It could be a banker. It could be a loan officer, okay? And they might be withholding some type of financial aid. Now, it could be that there was a flood and you went to your insurance company and you said, I paid all these years and there was a flood and this is damaged and I want a retribution for it, right? And they're saying, nope, it's not covered. That type of stuff. Yeah, that type of stuff. Now, this person, you know, they're very materialistic, but they're also, you know, they're high on that morality horse, okay? They think that if you disagree with them, that you're wrong. You're in the wrong, that they're not. No. And they're going to put conditions on any type of help that you request from them. So if it's an insurance broker, if it's a banker, okay, they're not going to release the funds that you need released until you fulfill perhaps paperwork or documentation, or maybe even getting them pictures of the damage that was created by possibly flooding or earthquake, or, you know, maybe even someone breaking into your house and, you know, damaging your personal items, okay? Those type of things. They're going to be withholding that help, though, so be aware of that. They're not concerned about you emotionally. They're only concerned with the facts. And they're riding their high horse into the center of town. Okay, so we are now, last 2 days of that last week. I almost feel sorry for you, like really, almost feel sorry for you. Like, you've been dealing with so much crap. And that strength card reversed, your energy card, toward the end of the month, and, you know, all the crap that you're dealing with, yeah, your strength is getting zapped. So it might be time for a vacation, or to kind of pull away from chaotic energies. Okay, so Three of Swords reversed. So there's someone in your life who's suffering. You know, you might be aware how much. They're not telling you because they know that you're going through a lot of problems right now, and so they're not telling you what they're dealing with. And they might be dealing with health issues, okay, and serious health issues. Health issues that are in the early stage of development. That could be cancer, it could be heart problems, it could be diabetes, it could be neurological issues, whatever it may be, okay? It's going to take a lot of work on their part and a lot of effort to heal from whatever illness they're dealing with. And it does speak of a chronic illness. Okay. So they're not telling you the bad news. They're not telling you the health issues that they're dealing with. And, you know, they might even be so used to dealing with hardships that they don't even want to talk about it anymore. Yeah. So it does talk about controlling negative thoughts, rehashing old memories, old injuries. So there might have been someone in your life maybe before, someone that you cared about that, went through some health issues, and you're finding out about this individual who is dealing with chronic health issues, and it's overwhelming you because you're rehashing things that happened in the past, okay? So, and here's another thing too. Do not get involved in other people's relationships, okay? In other people's problems. Just let them come to you when they come to you. Don't be at them and, inundating them with questions and fears and what could happen, blah, blah, right? Let it go. Let it go. The good Lord will take care of what needs to be taken care of. And if they need to talk and they need support, they will turn to you, Scorpio. But don't pressure anyone. Don't pressure anyone. Whether you're pressuring someone to, tell you what about their illness or the problems, their health problems. Okay, whether it's that, or maybe someone's pressuring you to choose sides in an argument or in a relationship. Okay, someone's trying to stay in a bad situation. That's not gonna benefit them in any way. And I hope, Scorpio, that that's not you, because it did talk about the fact that you would have been leaving a job around the first of the month, that you're vying to leave a job that you weren't happy in, okay, and to go closer to a familial aspect. So, maybe toward the end of the month, you're thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll stay a little bit longer. No, 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 no. Scorpio, don't do it. Don't do it, because, you're trying to stay in this bad situation, a job or a circumstance, even a relationship, and you're blinding yourself to the better aspects that are out there in all areas. And indeed, you need to move out of the month of August and into September in a more stabilized way. And you will. Just don't talk yourself out of it. So I shall see you in September, and hopefully you got your bags packed and you're on your way to the train station. So I shall see you in September. Namaste, my friends. Bye-bye.